Welcome to your safe space, the podcast your partner, friends, parents, whoever thinks it's dirty. Don't have time to read books? Want to understand all the jokes in the TikToks? We got you, fam. We're the Spice Traders, and we deal in spicy books. I'm Katie, and I need it to make sense.
I'm Liz, and I'm hypercritical.
Before we get to today's episode, we want to encourage you to check out our Patreon, where we publish extra episodes every other week, as well as ad-free versions of our regular feed episodes. Also, any series we read past the first book, all that coverage is Patreon only, so think series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, Guild. Anyway, we really appreciate the support and encouragement to continue doing something we love and sharing it with you.
Thanks in advance for checking that out. As always, we start this episode with 3 things. First is a generic trigger warning. You can find specific triggers for this book in our show notes, so please check those out. We also use foul language and talk a lot about sex. If you have sensitivity to either of those things, our podcast probably isn't for you.
Second, our episodes talk about books, the whole book, nothing but the book, so help me goddess. If you don't want something spoiled, don't listen to this episode.
And finally, we acknowledge that a good book can hit you at the wrong time. Our views discussed in our episodes are our opinion, and we don't want to diminish the work or the talents of the authors in our community. That said, we have some notes.
Girls, so what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter. This was published in 2024, and it is the first in an ongoing series, The Fae Kings of Eden. Currently, there's 2 books published and 2 more on the way. But I do want to note that they are standalones. She says that at the front that you can really read them in any order. It's just interconnected characters. So we started with the first book that was published.
And that's part of the reason that we were drawn to it, right? Like... so rare that you get a standalone in this genre.
Exactly. So there are more than one. We'll probably read more than one, spoilers, but you can read them as a standalone. This book is 258 pages long, and that's 8 pages over a shorty, so we're going to treat it like one. And it really reads like a shorty, too, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, one of the drawing factors was like, very little plot, all smut, no thoughts kind of thing. And like, look,
yes.
If we tried to break that up into 2 books, we would be not successful.
We would not be successful. And it's true. So I do enjoy the covers of these books. You can see like they all kind of go together. They're pretty straightforward. Like this one, you get a quill, a feather quill, and there's blood on the top of the quill, which there's a lot of violence in this book, surprisingly so, but it didn't bother me.
It's very cozy violence. It doesn't make sense when I say it out loud, but
yeah, it is cozy violence. And then you just have the title, and there's some like wispy whimsy around the edges. It's very straightforward. I like it. I think it's nice and clean. I really don't have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I like it too. I also like... I always like a very filthy book with an innocuous cover, and that's what this is.
Exactly, because this book is filthy.
Yeah. In the best way.
In the best way. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you because there's a lot I want to say before we even get into the plot, but I'm going to let you take it away. So, Katie, kick us off.
Yeah, so first and foremost, this is on Kindle Unlimited. Thank you.
We love that.
And we get... to Liz's point, we get a lot of things before we get into the book, so let's talk about that. We get a great dedication which says, quote, "For everyone who hates the word cock, I have devastating news."
This is one of my favorite dedications we've ever gotten. I'm gonna be really honest.
Yeah, same. It tells me everything I need to know about Jamie Applegate Hunter, and I'm here for it.
Yes. And I know it really also lets me know what I'm getting into in this book. Like, I already knew what it was, but I'm convinced now.
Bringing it home. Yeah.
Yep. And I love that.
So then we get a world guide that talks about the different types of people in terms in the book, which is helpful, but I don't think it's really necessary. And I say that because I'm usually so good about this, but for some reason when I started this book, I didn't go back to the front and go through it. So I totally missed this until I was doing my notes, and I didn't need it. It's helpful. I appreciate it, but it's not necessary.
No. And you do get all the information in the book. So we don't learn a lot that we don't. There's nothing I needed to refer to.
Yeah. And I'll say the same thing about the map. I didn't realize that it was there. I don't have any problems with this map. It's simple, illustrative. North is where it's supposed to be. But it's also not, I mean, we said it kind of at the top, there's like not a lot of thoughts happening in this book. And so I didn't need a map to orient myself in what was happening in the story.
No, I like that we have it, but I also didn't need it.
Yeah. So then we get a couple more things. We get a content warning. So check that out in our show notes.
And the link works, which I appreciate.
And the link works. Yes, I appreciated that too. And then finally, we get kind of a disclaimer about this book not being a literary masterpiece. And she ends this disclaimer by saying, quote, there is a 50-50 chance you'll have a good time reading it, end quote. And I'm going to say it right now. I did have a good time. So I'm in the 50% that had a great time.
I liked that. I had mixed feelings because I literally pulled that quote and put it in my notes too. And I said, very chill, maybe a little aggressive. I'm unsure.
Yeah, I mean, I have in my notes that like I didn't read this, as I mentioned before, and though I appreciate the sentiment, I didn't feel the need for it. Like I went into this book blind, like I do most of the books, and I will agree with you that like I did have some concerns in the beginning, but as soon as it started picking up, I was here for it, and I knew what I was getting into with like the all smut, no breaks, very minimal thoughts. Like I wasn't going to judge this book that harshly.
No, and so that's why I felt like it almost made me dread it where I wasn't dreading it before. And then the other thing that I didn't appreciate that did not bode well for me was right under that disclaimer. I took a screenshot of it. It says, Fae Kings, and I'm going to read it verbatim. Fae Kings of Eden is a series of interconnected standalones. The books may be read any order. And I was like, ooh, you got a typo in your disclaimer. That does not bode well for the rest of this book. But that was the only typo, so it was fine.
Yeah. Like it was really fine, but it's just it's not on this level, but it reminds me of that disclaimer from that author who was like, don't pirate books or something weird in her disclaimer.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't need you to yell at me, okay?
But in this, I didn't feel like she was yelling at me. I was just like, I don't know who hurt you by giving you too much feedback about a book that was not that serious, but that's not what I'm here for.
Exactly. Like I'm here for this because it's not serious. It's a great like palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Like I have no complaints. And even a lot of her disclaimer talks about like, hey, they said you couldn't write a fantasy romance without a lot of world building, but I did. And I was like, you know what? You did. And I'm not mad about it.
And we're going to talk at length about this because it's so rare. A couple of things are rare about this book. One, it's a standalone in the romantasy genre, which like I feel like never happens. Two, it's well executed. She walked the line of world building without giving me too much information and complexity. Mm-hmm. And the smut is really good. It was a delight, honestly.
It was a delight. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like she walked that line perfectly because she didn't do the thing where she gave me just enough information that I had more questions. Like I was great with everything she gave me. There's one note I have at closer to the end of the book that there's like some weird terminology that gave me one question. But actually looking at my notes now, it all makes sense. So I'm going to bring that up because I didn't actually realize that it's not really a typo. Damn, girl. All right, Jamie Applegate Hunter, you got me on that one. I'm going to call it out when we get there. Because I was like, this gives me questions. And now I'm like, oh.
I don't have questions, actually.
I don't. You answered that question.
Now I'm so fascinated to see what it is.
I know. I'm gonna try. I have my notes up. I mean, I could tell you now, but I'm gonna save it for at the end.
Yeah, save it for the end.
It'll make more sense.
So then we jump into the book, and just as a disclaimer, this book is split up into two parts, but obviously we're gonna cover it all in one shot. So part one is called The Letters. And we start this part off by meeting Rennick, who is a royal fae who has just turned 13 and heard the name of his fated mate, Amelia. He talks about this with his parents, who are also fated mates and went through this experience themselves, and they're very happy for him because, like I said, they went through it. They're excited for him to go through this journey. We learn that fated mates are something only for royals, so like the other fae don't experience this. And these mated pairs are dictated by the gods of this realm, and that on their 13th birthday, these royal fae hear each other's name. So beyond knowing each other's name, the way that they know how it's the right person is that they also share a birthday. But in this particular case, they've got some digging to do because there's no other female royal fae that they know of. So they're like, huh. And typically, royal fae are mated with each other. They're not like mated with the plebeian fae, if you will.
And I do want to call this out because until this very moment, I didn't remember that I usually have a problem with fated mates because usually like it kind of toes the line for me. But this whole book was based around that premise, so I was here for it the whole time.
Right. It is the integral part of the story. The only question that I had about this is that if he heard her name, did she not hear his name, or did she and just think it was a dream?
So that kind of comes into one of that one question I had. I think she didn't because she doesn't have the powers that she would have needed to hear his name.
Because she wasn't surrounded by magic. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I think. So I think she probably didn't.
Okay. So we skip forward a little bit in time and we learn that there's been rebel attacks in Rennick's country, right? And he's asking his father about it and specifically why the rebels feel the way that they do. And his father gives him very sage advice. He says, quote, "You will always be someone else's villain, whether you deserve it or not. Your duty is to ensure their hate is unjustified," end quote.
I like that.
I like that too. I thought it was very sage advice coming out of left field for a book like this.
There's a couple lines in this book that I was like, wow.
Okay.
Jamie, like, I see you. You have some writing chops.
So this particular attack is upsetting because the rebels have breached the garden wall and slain Rennick's mother. And this is something that Rennick never really gets over.
I mean, valid.
Yeah, totally. A little later on, Rennick has found Amelia, but we learn that she's in the human court and the human queen will not let her leave until she's 25. It's unusual because the assumption here is that Amelia is a human. And so they're like, that's weird, but the gods have dictated it and so it must be true. So Rennick asks his best friend Finn to go see Amelia and deliver her a letter, which he does, and thus starts the namesake of this part because Rennick starts sending letters regularly to Amelia, even though he doesn't want her to write her back or keep the letters because he doesn't want to put her in danger. So the way that this works is that Finn glamours himself to be invisible, delivers the letter, and then takes it back once she's read it.
Which I didn't really think about the logistics later until Finn calls him out on it, like much later. But so he has to deliver the letter in secret and then just kind of watch her until she's read it and then snatch it from her hands and leave again. But like sometimes he has to wait for her to wake up. Like he can be there for a few hours.
Yeah. And it's like kind of a lot to ask from a friend.
Especially these are 13-year-olds. So Finn is also 13 to go take this journey and do this.
I'm sure it's not the first thing that he would want to do.
No, I think he's got other shit to do.
So we then switch perspectives to Amelia, and we learn that she is a bit of a loner. She's at an orphanage in the human kingdom, and she doesn't know anything about her family. She's a bookworm and very smart. She just has trouble interacting with other people. She finds the first letter from Rennick, and it's very cute because we see that it's clearly written by a 13-year-old boy. But Amelia is taken aback when the letter vanishes, and she's so like out of sorts about it that she convinces herself that she made it up. Except she can't fully like convince herself that she made it up because there's also a gift with the letter that doesn't disappear. And it's a horrifying doll that she hates so much that she writes a letter back that's like, "Dear Nick, I hate you. P.S. Don't write me ever again." And she just sets it like on her windowsill.
And it never gets taken. I don't really understand why she can't write back because Finn is already going home. Like, why couldn't he take letters back?
I don't know. I mean, that was kind of like okay. I mean, if he's taking the letter with him, then he could just be a courier, right? Like,
right. And it didn't bother me, but I'm just like, okay, but he could, but she could write back.
He could, yeah.
It wouldn't put her, I don't think it would put her in any more danger than like Finn delivering the letters in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't dwell too much on it because it is kind of an interesting like dynamic, but it is like if you just scratch a little bit further, you're like,
Which is fair, and I think that's where her disclaimer comes in, like, don't scratch. Right. I don't have answers. Like, don't worry about it.
Heard, chef.
Yep.
So we next see Amelia make her first friend, which is a girl named Clover, who looks similar to Amelia in that she has blonde hair and light eyes, and she also acts similar to Amelia because she's quiet and likes to read. And it's here that I made the false prediction that Clover was some kind of like magical sentinel sent by somebody, but no, she's like a fully formed person.
I didn't, I made no predictions throughout this entire book. I made one later and I was wrong.
I made very few predictions, but it was just so... Clover's described as being so awkward and so, like, quiet and, like, a person of very few words. I was like, is she just a magical conjuration thing then?
That's fair, because she's really awkward. Like, they have this very sweet moment where, I don't know where it is, it doesn't matter. But Amelia's not even sure Clover likes her until they, like, share a moment over a book. And then even at the end, Amelia's like, oh, you really are my friend.
And Clover's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, I've been your friend for years, bitch. And Amelia's like, you don't really show it very well, okay? Listen.
Yeah. Well, and especially because Amelia's a chatty Cathy when she has a friend.
Because she doesn't have any friends.
No. So we skip forward about a year and we learn about Aura, who is one of Rennick's friends at court. And it's clear that Aura is jealous of this person that Rennick is writing to. So she proceeds to give him a lot of bad advice on what kind of gifts to send to Amelia, starting with a hunting bow. Aura is also convinced that she and Rennick are fated mates because he and his father have lied and said that instead of Amelia, the name that he heard was Orissa, which is obviously very close to Aura's name.
Which, that was a dumb choice, my dude. Aura's the worst, and I could not wait for her to get what was coming to her.
Okay, same, but also, like, the thing that comes to her, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's not what I thought was going to happen.
No. So we fast forward a little more, and Rennick gets his familiar, which is an owl named Greta. He's at first disappointed, but then his father reminds him that owls are actually fierce predators, telling him, quote, they swallow their food whole, and when someone threatens what is theirs, they attack without question, end quote. And Rennick takes that to heart and realizes that the owl is exactly what he needs because he can see through its eyes. So he sends the owl to see Amelia for the first time. She's walking with Clover, and he doesn't exactly know which girl is which, but he correctly falls in love with the right one. And the way that this is described as happening, I think is very sweet because it illustrates what he then follows up with in words, that it wouldn't matter if they were fated or not because he loved her without knowing for sure that it was her.
I really loved how that comes full circle.
Yeah.
It was very swoony to me. I was like, okay. Because Amelia has valid questions later. Like, you only like me because you have to, which is the thing I don't like about fated mates. And I appreciate that this book addresses that.
Me too. And so the next letter he writes to Amelia, he tells her, quote, my imagination did not do you justice. You are beautiful.
I love that we see the letters. I love getting some letters in books.
I do too.
And it just made me very happy. And they're so cute because you can see like his scratch outs. He's like testing out pet names. He tries kitten one time and I'm like, okay.
I kind of like kitten. It was so like funny kitten. Though. Like when you first started reading this book and you texted me, you're like, are they 13 for the whole time?
I was very worried. And I was 1,000% sure that you would have told me, like, we can't read this book because they're children. But it was taking a while, and I'm like, okay, it said 25. I'm like, we have to go like 10 fucking years. Like, does this 200-page book cover 10 years?
Yeah,
like, I can't.
Thankfully not.
I can't read about 13-year-olds. Get it on. Or no. I was afraid they were going to be like 17, and that was still not okay with me.
Yeah, no, it's well handled because it gives you just enough of like building that relationship through the letters but not enough, or not so much that you're just like, okay, can we move on, please?
Exactly. So that was nice because each chapter is like almost a new year, we don't see every single letter. Like, it's cool. I liked that the letters are numbered, so you kind of get a sense of how many letters he's writing, even though we really only see like one or two a year, if that.
So when this letter is delivered and Amelia reads it, she's glowing because it's the first time that anybody's called her beautiful. And this time, when she hands the letter back to the invisible force that takes it from her, she thinks that she sees who she thinks Nick is, but she doesn't realize that it's actually Finn, right? She's actually seeing a little bit through the glamour, but It's like when you see something out of the corner of your eye and then it's gone. That's how much clarity she has of it.
Which I also like how that came full circle later.
Yeah, kind of funny.
It's so funny. Poor Finn. He's just doing his best.
He's just abused this entire time. It's fine.
He really is. It's fine.
So we fast forward to their 16th birthday, and Nick has sent a present to Amelia, which is a golden necklace with a trout pendant on it, courtesy of Aura's input.
It takes way too long for Finn to be like, bro, you gotta stop listening to her.
Like, she's actively working against all of this is terrible. And Rennick is just so classically bad at like reading the room.
Yeah, he has no idea. He has no idea. He just trusts his friend.
Yeah. Part of the inability to read the room happens here because we see some stress between Finn and Rennick, because Rennick is a 16-year-old boy, as is Finn, and he's not like appropriately thinking about Finn and the pressure that he's putting on him to constantly go be this gopher between him and Amelia. And Finn's like, bruh, I got better things to do if you're going to be a jackass about it.
Like, I won't do this at all then.
Right. So we fast forward a little bit more and we see that Amelia has befriended a white fox named Fennec. No,
it's a fennec fox.
it's a Fennec fox. So we fast forward a little bit more and we see that Amelia has befriended a little white Fennec fox named Eddie. And Rennick has started sending him sweaters because it's very cold where Amelia lives and Fennec foxes are desert creatures.
I thought the little sweaters were so fucking cute.
And I love that Eddie doesn't really actually like wearing them very much.
No, he doesn't. And Rennick's like, your fox looks cold. Give it a sweater.
Give it a sweater. Make sure it's wearing the sweaters that I'm sending.
Come on.
Fast forward a little bit more, and Rennick is starting to get a little possessive because he sees Amelia holding the hand of some random boy as she's walking home. And so he sends her a mold of his own hand so that when she feels like holding someone's hand, she can hold his.
Okay, so that's cute. It's great in theory. But all I can picture is like a mold of his hand standing up. Like if you put your hand down into a mold, right? Like you would put it as if the hand is up.
Yeah.
So all I can picture is whenever she holds it, she's just like in an arm wrestling position with it. And that made it weird to me.
She describes like putting it in her pocket and like holding the mold in her hand. I'm like, that mold has to be heavy. So I'm just picturing her having like this pocket full of sand essentially weighing down her clothes all the time and like being asked about it and being like, don't worry about it. There's nothing in my pocket.
Don't worry about it. And it's got to be huge, right? Because she comments on how big his hand is, how much bigger than hers it is. So she just has this huge thing in her pocket all day.
Well, and like one of the other questions besides like the freakish hand mold, like she's starting to get stuff. And I'm just like, does no one ever ask you where you get these things from? Like the trout gold necklace, these dresses that are about to show up, like
a backpack. She gets like a bag or books and things. Like you live in an orphanage.
Right.
I guess not.
It's fine. We drove right past it.
Don't worry about it. Don't ask questions.
So speaking of dresses, we see a delivery of some dresses as gifts from Rennick to Amelia, but the fabric is so garish that she knows that Aura is not her friend and has very much sent these to be mean.
Yeah, because she clocks that pretty quick. And also Rennick, because he's just a stupid boy. He's just a guy. Keeps mentioning Aura too in all of his letters. Like, you're mentioning this other woman. I don't blame Amelia for being like, what the fuck?
Right, like, I don't want to hear about Aura. Thank you so much.
Especially because she's sending me horrid things.
Right, it's clear that she and I are not friends.
Yeah, and we're not going to be.
So time continues to pass, and Amelia gets a job at the library that she loves so much. The librarian's nephew is in town, and he's very cute and pays attention to Amelia, even walking her home. When she gets home, her fox Eddie gives her a judgmental look, but she tells him, quote, Nick can't be mad if somebody walks me home, end quote.
I mean...
But in his next letter, Nick says, quote, I hope you think of me too, and not that man who walks you home from work sometimes. Would you be sad if something happened to him? I wouldn't.
And this is when the viciously part starts to come out.
I'm so here for it.
I am too, because it is like touch her and die, and we get that dark romance a little bit, and I'm not mad about it.
I think there was a Goodreads review or something where somebody was like, God, I love me a book with a man who's all about his woman. Just like, yeah, that's this book.
The obsession is great. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
Give me more.
So as the two of them get older, Nick tells Amelia that he can feel her emotions when she touches herself at night.
Ooh.
And Amelia basks under the attention, but she increasingly suspects Nick and Aura are sleeping together, especially when the letters from Nick come less and less frequently, and they always mention Aura.
I can't blame her for thinking this, and I am glad that they talk it out later. Spoilers, but I'm like, Rennick, you're a moron.
Yeah, dude. And like, the impression that Amelia is getting is that Aura is taking Rennick's attention away from her. But in reality, Rennick is just starting to rule the country with his dad more and more. And so he's got more and more on his plate. But like, I'm fully on Amelia's side here. Like, you can't expect her to think the best of intentions there.
Exactly. Or just like wait around for you because she still has never met you or even been able to talk back. Like, I don't blame Amelia for any of her feelings. I would feel the same way.
Yeah, because she's starting to show, like, to us, like, I don't even know if this person's real. This could be just a trick or a complete delusion. He could never come for me. Like, I'm falling in love with somebody that I don't even know is real or serious.
Yeah, or actually even likes me. Like, he says he sees me, but how does he see me? And then why can't I see him?
Right. So we see a brief interaction here with Finn and Aura that illustrates the level of Aura's delusion because she asserts that she and Rennick are closer than Finn and Rennick. Finn is secure enough in his friendship with Rennick to not engage in that kind of fight, but it makes him wary of Aura in a new way.
She crazy.
We skip forward a little bit, and Rennick is in the middle of a celebration of the capture of a rebel leader when he feels the emotions of Amelia having sex with somebody else. Specifically, he feels her orgasm, but he also feels something like obligation and guilt. So Nick is devastated, and he sends his owl Greta to find out what the fuck, and finds out that this man that Amelia has slept with is somebody who owns a bookshop near where she lives.
I assumed it was that same guy from like when she worked at the library, but maybe it's a different person.
I think it's a different person.
That makes sense.
Because
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but I think it's a different person.
That makes sense. We get like, there's not a lot of times we see Greta's perspective, but Nick is like, you need to go find out who it is. Go look in the window. And Greta's like, I am not going anywhere near her window, bro.
Right. And he's like, you could claw his eyes out. And Greta's like, no.
I shan't be doing that.
I shan't. So Rennick knows that he is somewhat to blame because he hadn't written Amelia in a long time. So he immediately writes her and says that he apologizes for neglecting her, but that he felt her fucking the duder.
Whoops.
Amelia reads the letter and is taken aback because she's excited to hear from Rennick again, but she's conflicted because she feels insane for falling in love with somebody who she's never met and only writes her letters and then disappears right after she's read them. So she thinks about Gilpin, who is the man that she slept with the night before. And the whole time she's like, yeah, I was sleeping with him, but I was picturing Rennick, right? Like, and she's even justified it to herself because she's convinced that Rennick and Aura are sleeping together. And who else knows who else he's sleeping with? And so she wanted to get in some practice so she's not completely inept if they ever do meet.
And she says a few times, like, why do I have to stay like celibate, but you don't have to? In her internal monologue, which, yeah, fair.
Totally. Like, his letters are giving the impression that he's out fucking like whoever.
Yeah. Because he talks about like what other girls wear. That's coming up later. But like, he's dumb.
Yeah. He's a dumb.
He's just
dumb
a
boy.
guy. Hit him with
He's
your car.
Just a guy. So we next see Rennick with the man Gilpin, and he is punishing Gilpin for touching Amelia, like literally in the dungeon of Rennick's castle.
Poor guy.
Poor Gilpin has no idea what's happening, and he apologizes, saying that Amelia meant nothing to him, and that slip of the tongue makes Rennick kill him in a rage. Oops. And
he can't win because he can't be like, I love her.
No. No, there's nothing he would have said that would have gotten him out of that alive.
No.
So Rennick sends Amelia Gilpin's blood-covered pants and tells her, don't worry, it's not my blood.
Okay, he cut Gilpin's dick off, right? That's what we're alluding to here? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
At least he didn't send her the dick. That would have been too much.
That would have been so much. Oof. In his next letter, Rennick gives Amelia money and asks her to buy whatever sexy underwear thing that she wants, and she takes that to mean that he's seen other women in sexy underwear. And she screams that he's an asshole and that he's not allowed to kill whomever she's with while he's off fucking whoever he wants.
Yeah.
So Finn is there to hear that rant, and he returns and gives Rennick the report and is like, dude, you're such an idiot. Like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Also, stop listening to and talking about Aura. Thank you.
So Rennick's like, fuck. And he immediately writes a letter that says, quote, there isn't another woman in all of Eden who could take me from you, little mate, nor is there another man who could take you from me. End quote. He goes on to say that Fae are not modest, and that's the only way that he knows about women's lingerie. Promise.
Promise. I swear.
I swear. So we see a couple more bad gifts, and we learn that Finn is having a good time with some of the barmaids in the inn in town whenever he delivers a letter to Amelia. So Finn has found a way to make this enjoyable for himself.
Good for Finn. I was happy for him.
Me too. One of the gifts are a bunch of replicas of Rennick's dick, and he tells Amelia to practice with them because he's well endowed. Like, she's going to need the practice. And Amelia tells us, quote, she would enjoy the practice.
I loved this because they're like all him, but in various sizes. Like he sized himself down.
Just a bunch of dildos.
And I like how into it Amelia is. She's like, all right, this is the best gift you've given me. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. This is the most thoughtful, most useful thing. Thank you so much.
You can keep your chart pendants all you want.
Yeah. So then we start part 2, which is called Vicious Love. And we immediately skip to Amelia and Rennick's 25th birthday. But even though she's expecting a letter or something, nothing is there when she wakes up, and she's deflated. Beyond that, both her friend Clover and Eddie are nowhere to be found. And so she's like, well, happy birthday to me, I guess. Fuck.
Just go fuck myself, I guess.
Right. But on her way to work at the library, she physically runs into Rennick and Finn. Unfortunately, she mistakes Finn for Rennick, and she immediately tries to go hug him, which makes Rennick genocidal. And it's hard for him to control, but eventually they rectify the situation, and Amelia is informed who actually has been writing the letters and who's been delivering them.
Because she's seen Finn a couple times accidentally. Like, you can't blame her.
Right.
But, yeah, awkward.
And poor Finn is just like, please don't touch me. I
really don't want to be murdered.
Too long.
I just listen.
Look. So Rennick immediately wants to take Amelia back to his castle, but she wants to go home. And they have a little bit of a push-pull here about where they're going to be. But eventually Rennick is like, you know what? If you want to stay here, we'll stay here, right? Even though I'm king, we'll make it work. So Rennick sends Finn back to the palace, and he continues on with Amelia to her place. Which I really liked, because he was originally like, we're going to go back to my place. And she's like, you can't just order me around. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is not how you were in the letters. I don't know you.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that he eventually relented and was like, you're right. I don't actually care where we are.
Yeah. And I like that later too. We'll get to it. But she tries to leave eventually. She's like, you said I could leave whenever I wanted. And he's like, no. I said we could leave. You're not leaving me.
Right. No, us together, totally fine. You alone?
Let's get out.
Absolutely not.
Not in a million years.
No.
And I like that.
Yeah. So once inside her apartment, Amelia says that she has questions, and Rennick's like, yeah, cool. Ask away. I'll answer whatever you want to hear.
Let's go.
And it's during this conversation that she first admits that Ara and she don't have the same tastes. And Rennick says, okay, that's cool. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Ara's nothing but an old friend. Cool. We're just friends.
Just friends forever.
And she's like, okay, cool. Next question. Why can't I feel your emotions, but you can feel mine? And he tells her that it's likely because she doesn't have magic, but that when they complete the mating bond, she should be able to feel what he feels. He then explains a little bit about what glamour is and how that's how Finn used to deliver the letters, and why he couldn't let her keep any of the letters for her safety, right? He was essentially afraid that somebody would find out that she's his mate and then try to kill her. He then lets drop that he had a personal library built for Amelia at the palace, and he tells her, quote, I will follow you anywhere, little maid, even to hell if that's where you wish to go.
I was a little sad that, and maybe I missed it, but we don't ever see the library, but Aura helped him design it. So like, is it a good library or is it chaos?
So we do see she does spend some time in the library, and it feels like it's a fine library, that even though Aura was like a part of it, she didn't fuck that up.
All right, good. Because Aura was sending books because she likes to read, but they're on like, well, Rennick was sending books, but things Aura picked out, and they're like the breeding habits of mountain lions and like just bullshit.
Yeah. The content of the books might not be great, but I think the library itself is beautiful.
All right, cool. We can fix that.
We can fix the books. So the day progresses and they look for Eddie and Clover while Rennick arranges for transportation back to his kingdom, but they don't find either one. And it was here that I was like, okay, you're just gonna, because she just fully is like, okay, they're not here, I guess we'll just go.
I was sad about that. This is like one of two times that specifically Eddie goes missing, and it made me really sad. I texted you the second time, so I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where is he?
But it makes sense. I mean, after we learn what the fuck is going on with Eddie, it makes sense why he would disappear. But it is just, she's so nonchalant about it, and I would be way more chalant.
I would be 100% more chalant. I was more chalant just reading it. I'm like, but he's your buddy. You put little sweaters on him.
What are you going to do with all the sweaters if he's not back?
Right, like you're just going to leave him here?
Regardless, that evening, Rennick tells Amelia that he doesn't want her to call her Nick anymore because that name is one that she associates with the image of Finn, and she agrees.
Fair.
As they do mundane things together like eat, it finally sinks in for Amelia that her mystery letter writer actually showed up, and he's all hers, and he's Fae, and he's a king.
And he's pretty hot.
And he's pretty fucking hot, yeah.
Yeah. He's no Finn.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. Because it's awkward because she's been like getting off to the image of Finn for 10 years. That's a bit of a shift.
And then Rennick actually shows up and she's like, oh, okay.
All right, you'll do.
So then they go to sleep, but sleep only because Rennick doesn't want to pressure her into anything. And importantly, he doesn't want to be cramped for the first time they have sex.
Fine.
So as they fall asleep, they briefly talk about Gilpin and how Rennick killed him simply for sleeping with her. He tells her, quote, there isn't a line I wouldn't cross for you. I will write your name on my chest with the blood of any man who tries to covet what is meant to be ours, innocent or not. And Amelia's a little horrified by how turned on she is by that. She's like, okay.
There's a couple times in this book where she's like, why is that so hot? That shouldn't be hot, but why is it doing it for me? And like, girl, same. It shouldn't be, but it is.
But it is. Here we are. So they go to sleep, but in the middle of the night, Amelia is like so horny, she can't go to sleep. And she thinks that Rennick's sleeping, so she tries to touch herself like surreptitiously, but realizes pretty quickly that Rennick is actually awake. And so he helps her. So he has her sit on his face and make sure that she has a great time. But when she goes to reciprocate, that's when he reminds her that he's a patient man and he will wait until they are back at his palace.
It's a great scene.
It's a great scene. I love that he uses the verbiage of like, if you don't sit on my face, I will make you. Because that's so relatable when like somebody tells you to sit on their face. You're just like, well, I'm just going to support my own weight. And it's like, no, not that.
Like, no. Not, it's, I think that's what makes the scene so great because it is very relatable. Like, but I don't want to suffocate you. And he's like, then I'll die.
Then I'll just die. Yeah.
It's fine.
So the next day they travel to Rennick's kingdom and he fills Amelia in on all of the things about how royal fays are different from regular fae, and how there are different types of animals in the fae kingdom, and a bunch of like kind of nice world building stuff. And then Amelia asks about his mother, and he shares that trauma with her. He then tells her that royals don't usually have more than one child, and so he doesn't have any siblings, nor do any of his contemporaries. When they get to the castle, Amelia is a little bit self-conscious because of her rounded human ears. Her hair covers it, but Rennick is introducing her as a friend, and so she's not quite sure how she fits into this place. But he tells her, quote, "No one will harm a hair on your head or speak ill of you, and if they try, I will mount their heads on the front gate." When Amelia tells him that he can't kill everybody who threatens to kill her, otherwise he'll run out of people to rule, he tells her, quote, "Well, it would be easier to manage."
I mean, I also appreciate that answer because he does every time anything remotely upsets her. He's like, "Well, I'm just going to kill them." And she's like, "Dude, you can't just kill people.
Stop that.
Stop that." And he's like, "Listen, if I killed everybody, what an easy job I would have.
It's the solution I have, like it or not.
Yeah, I got nothing else for you. Sorry." And she kind of likes it, let's be real.
Yeah. So on the way to their room, they run into Aura, of all people, and it's here where she is specifically introduced as a friend that makes Amelia feel some type of way. Rennick can feel her discomfort, like feel the feelings of discomfort, but when he asks her about it, she deflects and doesn't give him a straight answer. In their room, they bathe together, and Amelia tells Rennick that she's sorry for being with Gilpin and tells him that the only reason she did it was because she wanted to be ready for him. She does tell him, quote, "It wasn't fair that I was expected to remain celibate while you were not," end quote. And this is when he tells her that he's never been with anybody. The only reason he knows how to pleasure anybody is because there are places where he can go and watch, and that's where he did all of his learning to make sure that he was going to be good for her.
Which I think is so cute.
I know. He was like studying really hard.
Yeah, it's adorable.
So then they canoodle a little bit in the bath, but it's just a fingering scene, and when Amelia comes, she yells Nick. And this doesn't sit right with Rennick because he thinks that she's picturing Finn when she yells that name.
I mean, I like, okay, this book is very low stakes. I like the stakes we have. Like this, yeah. I'm here for it. I know we're going to get a happily ever after. It's great. I like this conflict because she's been reading letters that are signed Nick for, again, like a decade, right? More than a decade. And maybe she has pictured Finn, but like she's here with you. And I get it on both sides. I also really liked this argument before they canoodle in the bath because her inner monologue says something like, "I don't know how I went from apologizing to him to attacking him, but it's fair to say anyway because I've had those conversations where I start with, 'Hey, I'm sorry, but what the fuck did you do?'"
Yeah.
Like, that's not where I meant to go, but it's valid. So I'm going to let
it happen.
We are.
So,
and yet here we are.
Yeah. I like the stakes that we have too. And I appreciate this book does a really good job of navigating that like forced instant intimacy, like aspect of fated mates and like showing how much they struggle with it because like, we'll get to it when we get to it, but like this thing of her calling him Nick, like they eventually talk about it and she's like, "I need a little bit of grace, dude. Like I've been calling you Nick for exactly what you said 13 years, right? Like,
yeah,
but I'm here with you. I want to be with you. I'm not picturing Finn. Like get that out of your head because he's not even on my radar."
Yeah, I literally gave him no other thoughts after we first met.
Right. So,
but also I never saw you, so I got to picture someone.
Yeah. So Rennick, I should say, is in his feelings and leaves her and doesn't come back for dinner. When Amelia's alone, she speaks with one of the maids, Fawn, and they talk a little bit about what's going on in the kingdom and the palace. Fawn tells her that people think that she's either Rennick's whore or his mate, but that she thinks he's his mate. It makes Amelia feel slightly better, but Rennick doesn't come back in the night and is still gone in the morning, so Amelia's determined to find him and talk about what happened. When she's directed to his office, she hears Aura laughing with Rennick behind the door, and she's absolutely gutted. Mm-hmm. She ends up running away, and Rennick feels the distress and runs out of the room to find her. When he does, Aura is right on his heels and intentionally tries to be closer and more possessive of Rennick than she should be. And Rennick is a big, dumb, stupid idiot and doesn't understand why that's a problem.
He's so dumb. But he's realistically dumb too. And I also appreciate that.
Yeah, because for him, it's like he's not even thinking about it. But then
because he gives no thoughts.
He gives no thoughts. But as soon as she's like, hey, this is a problem and here's why, he's like, oh, I can change that.
Exactly. He's like, I see why that's a problem. Got it. Let's go.
Yep. So Amelia runs to their room and she's like packing up her shit and she's like, I'm leaving. And Rennick follows and she's like, look, I needed better behavior from you than this because like I can take your silence, but I can't take you running to somebody else, especially when this is such a big change for me. And all I really want is you, but you're not giving me that same feedback. She says that when Aura touched him like a lover on his arm, that was completely unacceptable. So Rennick asks where specifically Aura touched him, and he uses a dagger to remove the top layer of his skin where Aura touched him and apologizes for not understanding and for letting that happen to begin with. He goes on to say that they can get rid of Aura tomorrow, completely banish her from the palace, and if Amelia wants to be the person to deliver that news, she can. And Amelia's like, oh, yeah, that sounds like fun, actually.
That would be great. He even offers, like, if you really want to stake your claim, like, I can fuck you over the desk while you tell her. And she's like, maybe.
Why is that a turn on? Why is that a hot? Why is it doing it for me?
And importantly, I don't think we said it, but importantly, none of this book is really important. But no one knows that Amelia is his mate because they have to keep it a secret till they're married for some reason that I didn't ask questions about. So like Aura still doesn't know. Rennick just introduced her as like quote unquote a friend, which would also bother Amelia. It would bother me. Like, I'm not your friend.
I'm not your friend. We be fucking. So the one line fixer they give for why they're not telling people is because they're not mated and she's human. And so she's kind of like an easy target. And if people know that she's his mate, they could like, because his mom was killed in the castle walls by the rebels. Kind of thing, so like
that makes sense. But I'm like, just get married right when you get back. But fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're going to delay it a week for some reasons. Capital R reasons.
Whatever. Capital R reasons. Hand wave. But this is also the conversation that you called out earlier where she's like, I'm leaving. You said I could leave. And he's like, no, I said we could leave.
You're not going anywhere without me.
Correct.
And I love that.
Me too. So as they make up, Amelia hands Rennick a package of letters that she had been writing in response to his letters over the years, but never been able to deliver. And he's delighted, but unfortunately it spans 13 years. So one of those letters says that she likes his new blonde hair, which of course is Finn's new blonde hair. And Rennick feels some type of way about that, which we will see in a moment.
So stupid. I was really confused in this moment for a second because I don't know. I've never read a book about Fae. I don't think I've read a book where anyone like just dyes their hair for fun and it's not like a plot point. So when we get this shift of Finn dyeing his hair blonde, I was like, but why? And then I couldn't remember what color hair Rennick had because we don't really get descriptions of any of these people except for the blonde hair and that he has dark hair and she's blonde too. But I was like, was it Rennick? Like, who is this blonde person? I was like, is this a spy? Is this someone else? I'm like, oh no, it's just Finn just trying on something new, I guess.
Yeah. So a little time later, we see Rennick interact with Aura without Amelia, and he's very cold and tells Aura to appear at a specific time, and that's when he and Amelia plan to tell her to get lost, but she doesn't know that yet. She seems undeterred even by his cold manner and is excited for the meeting. And he's like, wow, you really are insane.
Yeah, I'm glad he sees it.
So then Finn comes in and tells him that Aura is convinced that they're mates, and he doesn't know how Rennick didn't see it before. And in response, Rennick's like, yeah, I was an idiot. Anyway, here's a royal decree that everybody in the kingdom with blonde hair has to shave it off because of that thing that Amelia said in her letter 10 years ago.
Because 10 years ago, Amelia said she liked blondes and I don't have blonde hair and I feel very threatened.
I feel very threatened by this.
Like, dude, she was like 16. I'm going to need you to get over it.
I know, right? So the next day, on her way to explore some of the palace, Amelia runs into a snow lynx that follows her around. And she names it Charlie, and it's pretty evident that this is eventually going to be her familiar, but she doesn't make that connection immediately. She's just like, oh, this is cute. Awesome.
I was like, because Eddie went missing again. Like, she found him, he went to the castle, and then he went missing. And I was like, did Eddie somehow turn into a snow lynx? Because I thought Eddie was her familiar the whole time. And so when this lynx showed up, I was very confused. And I was like, maybe something.
Maybe
else?
Eddie's like a Pokemon and this is like his second form.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I was just confused.
Yeah. So Amelia witnesses some of the soldiers with blonde hair having it shaved off and she's mortified. So she determines to go directly to Rennick and immediately tell him how she feels so he doesn't feel insecure about what is between them. And when she finds him, she tells him that she loves him and he says the same thing back.
Oh.
After these declarations, they finally have penetrative sex for the first time and it's great. No,
It's really good.
Yeah.
This book was one-handed reading club for me.
For sure. Yeah, one-handed reading club. And it's especially good because like Rennick doesn't last very long because it's his first time, right?
Yeah.
So he knows that she could go a little bit longer than he could. And so he finishes her off with one of the dick replicas that he sent her before, which I love the idea that she packed that shit up from her apartment and brought it back to the palace.
Right? It was like, I'm bringing these with me. I don't know what's going to happen. And I like the realism that he can't last very long, but that her pleasure still comes first.
Yeah,
The whole thing did it for me, and like the ending did it for me, and it's just like, it's really hot and it's really dirty and it's just great.
It's great. Yeah. So toward the end of the scene, he gives her a legitimate bite on the neck that draws blood, and she's a little bit horrified, but there's a reason for this bite that will show up soon. So later that night, they go to dinner and Aura is there and she and Amelia have a back and forth tit for tat kind of thing. But Amelia is confident in her position with Rennick and shows off that literal love bite as well as her position with Rennick by sitting on his lap for the entire meal. And Aura is just like sputtering mad.
It's such a good scene. I loved this scene because Aura's fucking insane. And it also shows how stupid Rennick is. Like, calls out that Aura's always sat to his right, and that's always where the queen sat, but he never really thought about it because he thought that she was just sitting with her friends. And it's just,
come on, dude.
It's great to see Amelia come out on top, though, and be like, you know what? Bye.
Go fuck you.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck your mother.
Go fuck your mother.
So they go back to their room, and we get another nice scene, and this one has a little bit of oral, and it has a little bit of anal play as well.
Which is, I'm not mad about.
Super not mad about it, no. So in the afterglow of the scene, they talk about Clover and how Amelia hopes that she's okay. She's still worried about her. She doesn't know where she went. And Rennick's like, oh, I'll send for her and she can live with us in the palace since she's your friend. So Amelia's elated at that news, but it makes her think about her humanness, and she goes on to wonder aloud why they are mates and whether Rennick would have felt the same way about her if they weren't fated to be together by the gods. But he tells her, quote, if we weren't mates, I'd pray that our paths never crossed. My fated wouldn't have stood a chance. No bond could compare to how you make me feel. And then he says, don't ever question my loyalty or love for you again, which I don't love, but it's the possessive, controlling alpha hole kind of thing to say.
It is an awful thing to say, and she's allowed to question you.
Yeah. You've only physically been in the same room for like 72 hours.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the conversation is great. It all makes sense. We get the whole like I fell in love with you first, but she's allowed to have some desire for reassurance.
Yeah. I did appreciate, though, that him saying this was demonstrated earlier on in the book. So it's not just him paying lip service to it. Like, he actually believes it.
Yeah. And it's actually what happened. It's, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I am going to say it in here because I didn't make a note of where it is, but I don't want to forget to say it. It was somewhere in here in his internal monologue where, let me pull up the quote. This was the thing that gave me pause and I was confused. In Rennick's internal monologue, he uses the language of, like, maybe when we get married, it will turn her back into Fae. And I was like, what do you mean back into Fae? I was like, were humans always Fae? And I was like, now you've given me more questions. But like I said at the top of this recording, I understand the answer to that now.
Yeah.
But it was a weird word to use.
I remember that too. And I think at the time I just kind of drove right over it. Like, oh, that's just a typo thing.
I thought it was a typo thing too, or like world building that I didn't get. Like humans got their powers removed at some point. Hand wavy stuff.
Nope. He knows more than he's sharing right now.
Yeah. But I love that because I think, again, for how simple this book is and how like plot light it is, there's a lot really woven in here. Like what we see earlier when he first sees her, like it's pretty impressive.
It's great. Yeah. Which is why I'm looking forward. One, I love that this is a standalone, but I'm glad that there's more happening in this universe.
Exactly. Because we'll meet the other characters in the future books and I want to know about all of them.
So they go on to talk about how they're going to get married. And this is when Amelia learns that there's a blood exchange during the ceremony, which makes her incredibly queasy and anxious because she cannot stand the sight of blood, which is why the bow and arrow was such a bad gift for her. She also learns that all of the other royal families are traveling to attend this big thing. And that makes her even more anxious because she's got an audience. She's not going to do well with the blood thing anyway. And she's just like, oh boy.
And she's still not sure if they're even going to accept him having a human mate because like that's weird.
Right. Nobody knows how this is going to go. And this is when we learn that all 4 of the other male heirs to the other kingdoms are unmarried. And it's not clear whether they even have mates since, as I mentioned before, there's no female royal fae. We're still operating under the assumption here that Amelia is a human. So it could be that they have a similar situation or that they don't have mates at all.
Yeah. Or they're mated but not married for some reason.
Yeah. And I love that Amelia in this conversation is like, don't you think that's fucking weird? And Rennick's like, I hadn't really thought about it, but now that you say it, yeah, it is weird. She's like, oh my God.
He's like, he's so stupid. Because he even says, I don't know if it's out loud or in his inner monologue, but like, yeah, it's the first time in history this has ever happened. Oh, well.
Weird. Moving on.
Not going to give that any more thoughts. Oh, the other thing I want to say, it doesn't really matter, but I thought it was interesting, is we do learn that the royal fae take the throne at 25, which was why 25 was the key age. But I thought that meant that like, I still thought his dad had to die, and I'm glad that his dad's just still bopping around as like an advisor.
I like that too. I like that it wasn't that you had to kill your father to take his job, but also that there was just like a nice peaceful transition of power.
Yeah, like, okay, you're 25 now. Here you go.
Have fun. I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm going to enjoy retirement.
Exactly. Bye.
So at the end of this conversation, they agree that they shouldn't wait until everybody gets there. They should get married like tomorrow. And they're like, cool, good night.
Let's do it.
So the next day, Amelia is in her library with a guard named Echo, since Rennick can't be there physically with her. He's off somewhere dealing with rebel attacks somewhere else in the kingdom. So this is where I think the books in the library, the content of the books are not great because Aura picked them out, but the library itself is described as being pretty.
That makes sense. I think I just glossed over that part.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
But during this foray into the palace, they run into Rennick's father, Callum, the former king. But their interaction is brief because they're interrupted by other palace guards that tell them that rebels have breached the palace walls. So Echo hides Amelia in a closet. And Amelia's like begging with Echo to be let out so that she can tell Rennick that she's fine because she knows that if he thinks that she's in danger, he's going to kill friend and foe to get to her.
Which I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Soon, though, somebody is on the other side of the door and asks to see Amelia, and we learn that this is the king of the desert country, someone named Amos.
Really quick before we get into Amos, there was another cute like full circle moment that I have to point out because I just thought it was fucking adorable. So when he finds out that Amelia doesn't live in his kingdom when he's a kid, he's worried about her being from like the desert kingdom and not liking the cold because he's in the mountain kingdom. And so he starts like stocking blankets and coats everywhere for her. And so the closet they're in is like filled with coats. And Echo is like, I don't know what these are for. No one knows what they're for, but like they have to be kept clean. And it's never really told, like it's never confirmed to Amelia why, but like we know why. And I just think it's so fucking cute.
It's really cute. Yeah. Because it's just this offhanded comment that he makes internally to his own monologue when he's like 13 or 14. And then like we see it come to fruition. It's just so great.
It's so great.
And it's honestly like, It adds to the tone of this book because there's a lot of things like that are like comic relief almost a little bit.
Yes, because it is pretty dark. Like, there's a lot of murder that happened. I mean, we're getting into a lot of murder coming up.
A lot of murder. So back to Amos. At first, like, he was so anxious to see Amelia that I thought maybe this was like a why choose situation. But it's not. We'll learn pretty soon why he's anxious. But he was giving off vibes of like, I also want to fuck you because you're my mate too.
Yeah, like, I need to find her. I will do anything to find her. Sharesies.
So, cheers. So Rennick shortly joins them, and he and Amelia embrace despite the fact that Rennick is covered in blood. And we learn that Rennick didn't kill too many innocent people while trying to get to her. Cool.
Just a couple.
This is also when Eddie shows back up, and we learn that Eddie is Amos's familiar. The reason that he came to Amelia is so Amos could keep an eye on her because she is his twin sister. So they go to speak in private, and we get this long saga that we learn where Amos and Amelia's father is a piece of shit, was a piece of shit. And his mother, when she was pregnant, found out that she was going to have twins. She arranged to be elsewhere when she was going to give birth. And so she went to the human kingdom to visit her friend, the queen. And after the two of them were born, she had Amelia's ears clipped and then hid her in the human kingdom so that her father wouldn't kill her.
Dark.
So dark. We learn now, though, that's not a problem, the whole daddy issues thing, because Amos killed his father and succeeded to the throne. He tells them, quote, our father was a monster. He received the death he deserved.
Ruthless.
And it turns out that Amos is the only reason that they were able to locate Amelia at all, because on their mother's deathbed, she told Amos everything, and he was able to tell Callum everything.
Or else they never would have found her.
Correct. Yeah, I'm so here for Amos's story, dude. Like,
me too.
I want to know how he killed his dad.
I know. And I want to know, like, what did he just wait till he was 25, or was there like a turning
did he wait
point?
until he was king and so that he was the law, or did that happen beforehand?
Exactly, and he just became the law. Is it really public knowledge that he killed his dad, or is he just telling these people because he trusts them?
Yeah.
I want to know.
So there have been a couple of things throughout the story that I haven't been super specific in calling out, but it made it seem like Amelia might have magic, and it turns out she does because she's actually royal fae. She just doesn't have strong magic because she's been separated from the Fae land, and we had learned before that Fae royals aren't allowed to leave their homeland until a specific age because they're too tied to the magic, and that nourishes the land, et cetera, et cetera. But they're all hypothesizing in this conversation that Amelia's magic should come back when she's married and been in the Fae lands for a while.
And that answers my question where, like, she should turn back into Fae. Where before I was like, but why?
Yeah. But she'll never have the ears because they were clipped. I don't know why this is resonating with me so much, but the idea of clipping your baby's ears to keep them safe is just so metal.
Barbaric. It's so metal. And also, Amelia kind of calls it out to Amos. She's like, so you, like, not you, but the ephemeral you mutilated my ears as a baby? And he's like, yeah man, sorry.
Sorry, you're alive? You're welcome?
Yeah, she's like, okay.
Okay.
Great, I guess.
So Amos is sticking around because he's there for the wedding. He just came early. But sometime later, Rennick takes Amelia hunting. But when they finally find something for her to kill with the bow and arrow that he got her all those years ago, she can't do it because she hates the sight of blood and the thought of killing an innocent thing.
She, like, starts to cry.
She's, like, panicking to, like, do this. She really wants to do it for Rennick, but she just can't.
I love this scene.
And this is when it all comes out that most of the gifts that Aura picked out for Amelia are factually terrible. But Amelia wants to keep them all the same because they are fond memories for her. And then they have some forest sex, which is great.
It is great. I love some primal sex scenes.
Despite the fact that it's snowy and, like, outside. They're in whatever, it's fine.
It's fine. Suspend your disbelief. I think Rennick even acknowledges that. He's like, I'm trying to stay upright because, like, nothing kills lust like icy cold slush. Like, it's fair. You're correct.
So afterward, Rennick wants to go again, but Amelia is like, okay, you're going to have to like catch me for it. And she runs off.
I was so into this, and I'm so mad that we don't really get it, but it's fine. What happens is also fine, I guess.
Yeah. I would totally be down for the chase scene, but we don't get it because unbeknownst to the two of them, Aura has also come out into the snow and intends to marry Rennick against his own will. She thinks that she can use the Fey magic to her advantage in this way and like trick him into a bond of some kind.
Which is horrifying.
It's so rapey, like
it's super rapey.
It's so gross, the amount of entitlement that she feels.
Yeah, and that she fully thought out how to trick him too. Like she knows it's a trick and she's going to trap him.
Right. So she finds Rennick on his own before he's chased after Amelia and reveals her plan to him. She's convinced that they are mates and she makes them exchange blood. But of course it doesn't work because even if she had tricked Rennick into saying that he was there of his own free will, the magic knows better, right? He's not admitting to wanting to marry her. He's just saying, yeah, I came out here because I wanted to, ?
Yeah, I love that the magic knows.
Yeah. And of course, Amelia comes upon them during this time and she decides to take matters into her own hands. She drives a knife into Aura's heart and tells her, quote, when you get to hell, tell the devil hello for me.
Which was metal as fuck.
Yeah. And she's just like 0 to 100. Like she sees Aura trying to like trick Rennick into getting married by like essentially kissing him and biting his lip. But like rather than just go into like a jealous rage, she's just like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and the whole scene was very well done because there's no confusion that Rennick doesn't want to be there. Like it's very clear to everyone involved that Aura is manipulating the situation. She doesn't see them kissing and is like, oh God. Right. She's just like, I gotta get rid of this bitch.
Yeah, she's not like, I fucking knew it. He doesn't love me. She's just like, okay, your hands are on what is mine and now you must pay for it.
Goodbye.
So she's initially horrified by killing somebody, but she gets over it pretty quickly, like we've talked about. And she and Rennick are happy about this outcome. They're like, well, that was easy. And then they just leave her body out for the beasts of the forest to scavenge. And they like talk about planting a letter to tell her dad that she left. And that's literally how Aura goes away.
It was almost too easy. And that's what we're here for in this book. So it's fine. But I'm like, it was a little odd to me that Finn will find out later, but that none of these three characters, like Finn and Rennick, who've been quote unquote best friends with Aura for their whole lives, don't care at all. Like, I get that she's crazy, but like Rennick only realized she was crazy, I don't know, 24 hours ago. And Amelia just cried about killing a wild animal and just slaughters Aura and like is fine just letting her body being like dragged off into the woods. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, nobody misses Aura. And
no one cares. I don't even think her dad really cares.
No, he doesn't ask a follow-up question. It's very heartless.
I think that's the most vicious part in this book. I'm like, okay, you can cut off Gilpin's dick, but this I was like, holy shit, guys.
You just deleted somebody and don't talk about it ever again.
And none of you are worried. Like,
no.
Okay.
So later that day, they go to dinner and announce that they are mated to each other, and Clover is there, which makes Amelia very happy. But when she and Clover talk privately, we learn that Clover was actually sent to Amelia when she was 13 by Amos. And with that information, I immediately knew that she was Amos's mate, but Amelia doesn't clock that for a little bit.
No, I figured that out too, and I liked it.
Me too. So we learn that she's a fae from the Desert Kingdom, and that she's not an orphan at all, and that she actually has family that came to visit her as much as possible. Amelia is horrified that her brother would do this, let alone to a child, but he admits that it was a foolish decision and one that he wouldn't make again. But it does come out that at some point Clover was asked to come home, but she refused because she wanted to stay with Amelia. And I think this is where Amelia's like, oh, I knew we were friends. And Clover's like, girl, what?
It's such a strange exchange. And I have so many questions about them because, like, Clover and Amos aren't married, but is that just because they didn't, like, live in the same place? But she's ruling. It's very weird, and I want to read their story.
Me too. I'm glad that they are on the docket.
Yes.
So then we get another scene between Rennick and Amelia in bed, and this is one where he comes on her face and then rubs it in, which I thought was just absolutely horrifying.
I wasn't into that, especially like I could let it go the first time, but then he like specifies that she's not allowed to wash her face, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and like to be fair, he does the same thing with like her. He like goes down on her and then rubs it in on his face, but I'm just like, ugh. She does wash it off. She's like, I'm not into that. Thank you so much.
She's like, no, thank you. I have boundaries. Goodbye.
Yeah. So then we go from that scene to the marriage ceremony. And when Amelia takes the blood, she immediately gets a familiar mark in the shape of that snow lynx that's been following her around. Shocker. And then we can hear Charlie in her head. Cool.
We all heard that.
We all heard that. In the aftermath, Clover says that she's going to travel on her own, but that she'll be back and visit Amelia soon. And Amos is very protective, and that's finally when Amelia realizes that they are mates. And she's like, huh. Oh. And I'm like, girl, come on.
Get it together. Come on.
So then we get one last scene, which I appreciated. Like, this was some thoughts and a lot of smut. And this one is like full on anal.
And it was great because, like, we didn't talk about it, but he's been, like, priming her for this scene for the last few chapters with, like, different plugs and stuff. And I also appreciate the thought that went into that. Because usually sex in books doesn't work like sex in real life. Like, a lot of times they don't need lube. They don't need preparation. Like, nothing hurts. It's all great. And I appreciate that this book kind of addressed some of those things. Like, nope, we're going to use, like, oils. I'm going to prepare you for this. And it's going to be great for all of us. And then it is.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I love it.
So we see them greeting their guests for the official wedding ceremony. And this is when Amelia gets to meet Charlotte, the human queen, for the first time. And at dinner, it's also revealed that Fawn, the servant girlfriend, is actually the mate of the Garden King, which had me kicking my feet up in the air so hard.
Me too. And I am most excited for that book. Like,
Me too.
I need that book to come into my inbox, and it hasn't been delivered. Oh, it has been delivered. You should have it too.
Do I?
Thank you for signing up for the e-arc. Make sure you're subscribed to all emails. Can I click on this? My app. Oh, it's an application. My application has been submitted.
Yeah. Okay.
I want it.
Very
but
exciting.
It comes out at the end of September anyway, so put it on the docket for next year.
Definitely. So then we get a short epilogue 7 years later with Amelia and Rennick, but then also Amos and Clover are there, and they both have one kid. And I think Finn also has a kid, so there's a bunch of kids running around and everybody's happy. Fine.
It's adorable.
It's adorable. And then at the end of this book, there is the list of the other books in this series that, like I said, it's a standalone. And I'm really looking forward to just reading standalones for this series. But we get a book about the Garden King and Fawn that will be published later this year. And then Amos and Clover will be published in 2026. And then there's also already a book out about Roman and Violet, who are characters that we didn't meet in this one, but they're the regents of a different court. I originally thought that they were the kids, but they're not. That's not what's happening here.
Which is great, because I was like, no, there's other people I need to know about.
Yeah. So I'm stoked. I mean,
I want to read them all.
So yeah, let's get into our ratings.
Okay.
So how did we rate The Spice?
We both rated The Spice out of 5, which I knew this book was all spice, minimal plot. But even when we get books like that, it's still pretty rare for it to be a 5 for me. I think we said this in our last recording, but a 5 is usually like Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. And usually like the reverse harems get to the 5s for me. And this is just a single heterosexual couple, but like we get a lot of variety. We get a lot of realism. We get the connection. Like I'm sold on their connection. Even if it's that fated mates thing, like I really have no notes. It was one hated reading club. Like I would bookmark it. I would return to it. We get a lot of it. Like it's it's great. And then it's different too, right? Like we get a lot of different scenes, even though like it's pretty vanilla, but it's not super vanilla. Because we do get like butt plugs and anal and thing. And no notes. I loved it. I was here for the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the points for me too. I don't have anything else to add. It's 5s across the board.
I have to send you this TikTok, and I'm gonna repost it. But I was looking. All right, so I was getting a little impatient trying to get to the smut in this book because I wanted it. So I was trying to see if anyone had posted like chapter list of the smut, right? Because people do that. And I found it's a snippet of an interview with the author. And I guess she was talking about trying to like apply for this book to be an audiobook. I don't know if the audiobook is out. It probably is. But I guess she had to, as part of the application, had to list like the chapters that had sex in it. And it's so funny because she says something like, I didn't really think it was that many. But then she's like, it's in chapter 20 and chapter 22. You get 2 scenes in chapter 30. And then there's a scene in chapter 35. She's like, I didn't realize I wrote that much, but there it is.
There it is. I love that.
And it's great. I got to find it and send it to you. I was like, I love you. She was like, whoops.
So that brings us to writing style. I thought this book was great. I mean, especially for having such a kind of non-literary disclaimer at the beginning. There might have been like a couple of typos, but I'm not remembering a whole lot of them. Honestly, It didn't take me out of the fantasy. There wasn't any formatting issues, and honestly, there could have been a lot because we do get the letter writing back and forth.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that this book switches points of view between Rennick and Amelia, but that was done really seamlessly. Even within chapters, like we would switch perspective, but I was never confused as to who was talking, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, we even get one perspective shift to Aura, and I was like, okay, I still clearly know who's talking.
Exactly, yeah, and that's really hard to do, especially in a book
mid-chapter.
Right, and especially a book that's kind of one shot, like arguably, you know, I don't know why I have this impression, but like for one shot, things like this, I just feel like you put less work into it, which is not necessarily the case, but it's not like you're building a 7-book series, you know?
Exactly. You don't have to track, like, you don't have the red string board of like plot lines and relationships.
Or maybe you do, and my impression is wrong. But all to say, we rated the writing style at a 4. So that brings us to quality of storytelling. How'd we rate that?
We also gave that a 4, and I think for similar reasons, right? I was so impressed that there were so many through lines. Like everything was intentional. Like he sees her at the start of the book. We have that conversation later, and we get like he knows more than he's saying, but it's so good how that's revealed. And even the thing I brought up, like with the coats, like just that never had to come up again because I forgot about it until it came up again. So it was just really thoughtful storytelling. There's not a lot of stakes. There's no war. There's a lot of death. But like
it's camp.
It's camp. Like it's low stakes, get a happily ever after, and it all made sense to me. I'm quite pleased with it. The only reason it's not a 5 is probably just because we don't get that like world building that I like. I didn't expect to get it, but it does make it not a 5.
Yeah, and
it's just simple.
It's just simple and straightforward, and I think that a 4 is a perfect rating for this because it is like very digestible, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So that brings us to, do we recommend it?
Yeah,
we do.
Yes, we'll be reading more.
We will be reading more. But I think when we read the other ones, we're just going to release it on our regular feed because they are standalone and it's not like a series.
Yeah, I don't think they need to be in our series docket, which is nice because we have enough of those.
We do. And if they're all like this length, that's just a nice little bite-sized shorty filled with smut. I mean, come on.
Exactly. And she said you can read them in any order. So like they totally get to go on regular feed for me.
Yeah. All right, fam, we did it. Those are our thoughts on Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this journey. What did you think? Let us know on the socials. You can find us on TikTok and Goodreads and YouTube at Spice Traders Pod. And if you like our podcast and you want more, consider becoming a patron, where we release Patreon-exclusive episodes on our off weeks, as well as ad-free episodes of our regular feed. And if you really, really like us, join us or drop us a review wherever you listen. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.